space, and style.
Today with me, I have Dr. Oyekele Ajiboye. Dr. Oyekele Ajiboye is the MD and CEO of Efficacy Construction Company that started real estate construction and solutions in 2009, interestingly, during the global recession. And since then, they've been able to do quite a number of affordable homes in Nigeria. When you're talking about affordable homes, he's the go-to person. In 2016, he developed a passion for affordable housing solution. And how's the journey been since that time?
The journey has been good. It's been challenging, and but it's been really, really fulfilling.
Wow.
Yes, it's been really fulfilling. When you see yourself do affordable housing and you see people moving to it, young couples, retired people, people buying properties for their family without breaking their neck or breaking the bank, it's really good.
Wow, so that takes me to the question, why? Because I have done a bit of my research and I found that the housing solution in Nigeria is geared towards the upper class.
Yes, yes.
There's a kind of an oversupply of luxury residential apartments. It's against affordable homes. And we're always saying there's housing deficits in Nigeria. So it means that there are a whole lot of people that are outside of this bracket. And there's an oversupply in another area. So why is it that real estate developers have looked away from the provision of affordable housing solutions as opposed to luxury? There's a gap.
Well, I agree with you. Affordable housing is not something that you can say cheaply. It's challenging, but it's doable. It's rewarding. When you look at Nigeria as a case study, affordable housing is something that majorly the government has to play a role. When you come to affordable housing, what makes a house affordable? The main important capital cost of every property is the land.
Yes.
So when the land is located with a good infrastructure, the price is never the same. So if I go to my village and the land is 500,000, it's because it is in my village, that is why it's 500,000. It's the same land I can get also in Ogun State. It's the same land that is in Kwara State. It's the same texture. It's not as if the land is gold, but the infrastructure is what determines it. So when I talk about affordability of houses and sustainability, the number one thing that comes to mind is infrastructure. Infrastructural rules are majorly the responsibility of the government. It's a social development rule. If government decides to say that, okay, the Lagos Ibadan train that they are building now, and government says, okay, we want to create 5 major stops between Ibadan to Marina. Do you know that by creation of that and creating where people can stay, it is much more easy and convenient for people to buy lands and properties in those locations at an affordable price? That means you can actually do a 3-bedroom bungalow somewhere in between Lagos, Ogun, and Oyo for 5 million, 6 million naira, and the person comes on train to Lagos Island to work. So infrastructure is a major factor in it.
It's a feeder.
It's a feeder to sustainable housing and affordability.
As an average low-income earner in Nigeria who has the desire to have his own home, what should be the starting point? He doesn't have the resources to build a home or to buy, and he still wants to own a home, especially in Lagos. I want to narrow down the discussion to Lagos.
So I would critically say that the first thing to do is to intentionally get a primary mortgage institution, and I'll tell you why. So you get a primary mortgage institution, a mortgage bank to register with, start your NHF contribution, okay? You become eligible to be able to take a federal mortgage loan the moment you have contributed to the NHF for 6 months. You do that, and then you start looking for the property. While looking for the property, obviously there are almost no properties within NHF range now in Lagos. You can only find few properties that are less than 15 million, very few.
So then that takes away the affordability.
Exactly. So the NHF cap is 15 million. But one other thing that I've seen other people do is to form a cooperative. I don't want to mention some cooperative on air. Yeah. To form a cooperative, and when they form the cooperative, they go as a cooperative to Federal Mortgage Bank. We have a group of 20 people. We are tailors. We are this is our income. We are not asking for 15 million. We have a land in this location. We are only asking for 3 million. and then NHF looks at everything, FABN packages for them, and they can pay instrumentally that way. That's one of the easiest way. It might take a longer period, but you also need to work with a very smart PMI. The other one is to look for
PMI. What's PMI?
Primary mortgage institution.
Okay.
The other one is to look for development projects that can give you a span of paying in installments, maybe 12 months, 24 months, and all of that. But that also means that you must have a regular source of income to meet up with that process. It's very, very much more even difficult to say you want to buy land and build in Lagos now.
Because I was going to say that what if I don't want to buy, I want to build my home?
It's very difficult to actually. So from our experience and from what our clients we've seen over time, when you actually buy your land and you want to build, it's more expensive than when you buy into a property that is being developed for affordable housing.
How would you say that?
Okay, good. So let me use a case study. If you go and buy a land in Ibejuleki, and let's say you buy somewhere around Lakowe, you buy a plot of land, or you buy a half plot, not a plot of land. You buy a half plot for 4 million. You buy the half plot for 4 million, you will clear the land, you will pay the money fees, the community fees, you would start possibly fill the land, and then from there again you start producing. Now, because there's no large economy of scale, you will actually buy your block around 300 naira per block. If you are dealing with an affordable housing company, your block cost might come up to about 220, 250 because they are producing themselves.
Numbers.
Like in our own case, we produce our blocks ourselves, our paving stones ourselves. We buy our cement directly from Lafarge or Dangote. So we try to eliminate third party as much as possible. So, but if you are doing on your own, there will be third party there. We bring in our toilets from China, our doors from Turkey. So if you go to the market to buy it also, you are also buying at maybe 50%, 70% higher than what we are doing. So at the end of the day, when you collate everything and you collapse all the costs together, and also because of economy of scale, we can price a laborer to say, okay, you are doing this grading, this is our rate. And you know that you are doing volumes, multiple buildings. But if it's one project, the person will charge you maximum cost. So when you do on your own, especially when you don't have the resources so much, you end up spending more.
I never thought about it.
Yes, you end up spending more.
Okay, so for some people, they will still take that option.
For some people, yes, because of customization, because of sometimes experiences with developers, yes. Many people have also done off plans, they've burnt their fingers. A client was with us a couple of days ago and said there's a particular project he's bought into for 2-3 years. They are still telling him they've not allocated, they will soon be there, and they are not there.
When we come to issue of real estate development and this kind of issues, is a different ball for another day. So we are definitely going to take that topic because there are a whole lot of issues around it. So now another question will be, if I decide to now take that route of wanting to develop myself, what is the best design that is the most cost effective? Okay,
so when you're buying a land, the shape of your land is one of the most things you need to consider in saving money.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Shape of a land?
Exactly.
I would never have thought about that.
The shape of your land. If your land is triangular, you are going to waste a lot of money in construction.
Are you serious?
If your land is very irregular, up here, bent here, come out here, it's going to affect your design. The more edges you have, the more costly it becomes for you. So a rectangular land is actually the best to buy.
Rectangular.
Exactly. Okay. A rectangular land, an average of 60 by 120 land, let it be as rectangular as much. It shouldn't be too narrow, not too long, but very rectangular at most. So that way, you know that I can have just a straight wall on one side, a straight wall, unlike my wall comes here like this, comes out again, comes out. The more corners you have, according to what I've read in quantity surveying, I'm not a quantity surveyor, but from experience over time and discussions with them, the more edges you have, the more irregular shape your building is, the more costly it becomes.
I would never.
So it starts from the shape of the land.
Wow.
So
what about the structure itself? What kind of
So when the shape of the land is there, you also need to work with, I must also say, not just the shape of the land. When you want to develop a project for yourself, I think your first point of call are professionals. So don't assume, and work with a lawyer, work with a surveyor. Those two will save you the entire project. So why did I say that? If somebody offers you a land and the land looks very good, do you know that they can actually use the document of this location of Victoria Island to sell a property in Ikoyi? So your lawyer can take the document to Lagos State Government office and do the search, and it's the same paper. You get the CTC, but it is not for that land. So it is a surveyor that will come and take the coordinate and say this coordinate of this land matches with the coordinate on this survey.
Yes.
So
take
if not, the
the
coordinates,
land
the land
information.
information.
But a lot of people don't want to pay for professionals.
Ah, so that little 50,000, 20, 30,000 you would actually pay can actually save you, because I've seen some wicked people. They will see you building on their land, they will just keep quiet. They will never stop you. You will stop. You continue building, especially when you are doing fence, and you get to a place. Not that you finish the project, then they show up. That way they will bargain with you. You will rebuy the land from them times 3 the value of the land, or you go to court and lose whatever you have done on the land.
And read and spend all the time
all
in the
that
world.
money. So those little things are what's doing the check. So once you do that, and then you've secured the property, get an architect. Also get an architect that is not going to do a theoretical design for you.
How do you mean?
Okay, so there are some
design.
from experience, there are some architects that want to do a design that is very beautiful to your eyes, but they are not practicable, and then they are not sustainable, and at the same time they also know that you cannot afford it.
But I think the standpoint should be, your starting point should be your budget.
Okay, so most times you see clients hide their budget. Yes.
I come to you, I want something.
Yeah, they will say, they will say, give me a 4-bedroom duplex house, very fine, big rooms, big this, I want this. But for them to actually say, see, my budget is 20 million, oh, so that you know that this thing should just be, no, they say, give me the design. So when you do the design, then they now start. So after your architects have done your design, before you make a commitment to start, get a quantity surveyor.
I didn't get that.
A quantity surveyor.
You get your design first?
Yes, your design comes from the QS comes. So the QS costed that, this design they've done for you is 60 million, oh, and you are looking at 20 million naira. Immediately you know you have to change.
Is it not okay for you to intimate your
designer
that
this is my budget? But the other way around is what people do.
Wow.
Because they feel that once I tell you my budget, you start calculating if I have money or not. Then you start calculating how you will charge me. Some architects will charge based on what the expected value of the building will be. So they can charge 2.5% of the expected value of the building. So they will hide that cost and say, just give me this. Whereas the architect wants to impress you and does a fantastic design. He can put a staircase that is suspended, and you know that staircase is expensive and you can't afford it. So some of these things, once you do that, you get a quantity surveyor. He actually quantifies and tells you, this is way out. Let us scale down. That way you can quickly go back to the architect, reduces the space, the design to something within your budget. Thereafter, you can now start talking to builders or anybody that wants to build for you.
Then what about the structure itself?
Yes, the structure itself is, there are many ways to save money when you want to build a house. So once you've passed all the orders of the professionals, your building approval with government and all of that. So you need to work with people that you can put your project in milestones. So I have a friend that sometimes ago, his first building took him 4 years. And the way he did it was such that from the foundation, he knows he's going to get a certain money every year. So this certain money, this is what I want to use it for. So he buys all the materials and then looks for someone to supervise for him. So there's also a downside to that. When you buy the materials, people tend to waste your material because they feel not much liable to what you have bought. And they want to justify the initial quote they give you that this thing can finish it. So when you buy the material, they will use it anyhow and waste. So it still boils down to getting and carefully looking for a builder or somebody, a developer, to do your project for you, sometimes based on referral, would be very good. So
what would you advise? I want an affordable housing solution. Do you think I should go for a bungalow, a terrace? What design?
I think I would say a bungalow, but the bungalow is also subject to the value of land. So if I can't build a bungalow in Ikoyi, I can't build a bungalow in some locations. So I'll be looking at the value of my land where I'm going to build the bungalow. My cost of the bungalow would actually be cheaper, and then I'll have my space, my privacy. But if I'm doing terraces again, I'm building more units on a smaller land, more units on almost the same size of land. Where I'll have 2 bungalows, I can have 4 terraces on it. So I'm trying to compact the land and then go up and do that. So bungalow will be much more ideal if you're looking at affordable housing.
Because I've seen you do that.
Yes, we've done a couple of bungalows. Our first set of bungalow was sold for 13 million. 3 bedroom, 4 toilets, 3 bathroom in Awoyaya. On 300 square meters.
Dr. Oyekele, you are going to pay for this advert.
No, it's not that price again. Now it's 25 million.
You are going to pay
because it's now in secondary market. It's left our own scope. So we've done our own. People bought and that's it. So, but if you are looking at affordable housing, you should be looking at something like that. We wanted to start something on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. So this is why I told you that the infrastructure is a challenge. We acquired some land on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, thinking to do 3-bedroom, semi-detached bungalow for 8 million naira. Affordable housing, since they started doing that road. But you know, from the express, there's literally no paved road from the express to most suburbs in Ogun State.
Yes, I actually
Outside Redeem Camp, if you leave the express, Lagos Ibadan Express, before you get Shagamu and you go off the road, maybe Ofada Road, there's really no good road. So the roads are really
have
bad.
The numbers, because
yes,
a number of people are moving to that axis, and when it comes to infrastructure, I just
no infrastructure there is really zero. I think Ogun State has not made that zone a priority. The infrastructure there is zero, because if you build, no matter how fantastic the building is, the road to the property in the axis is bad. So that's a factor.
Okay, so in another question on how to save cost, is it advisable to source for your building materials yourself?
You can only do this when you know what is right and what is wrong.
How do you mean?
So even we as developers, we still fall victims. We still fall victims sometimes. There was a time we bought paints, and then we have these people that they produce paints, and then before you know it, they'll start changing the quality. When you go to market sometimes, they can sell a ceramic tiles for you as a porcelain tile. Ceramic tiles are clay, and then you are supposed to use them for, most times, your walls, because they can easily break. It's not something that you can use for the floor, but they can coat it that you will not even know. Cables, even Nigerian manufacturing wire, Coleman is struggling between people doing the fake and the original. So somebody can say, I'm going to buy you Nigerian wire, and they buy you the fake Coleman cable. You won't know.
So there's a huge, out of that quagmire?
It's a lot of work. That's why we have a procurement team, we have a quality assurance team. So they have to contact the company by ourselves. We contact Coleman. Most times their salespeople who educate us. Even when we can't buy directly from, we are buying from their distributors, they will also tell us they are recognized, verified distributors. So we know that. You can't do all of that. You will really just look for, where can I buy wire around, and just buy.
What about block molding?
Yes,
is it
also
an alternative to DIY it myself?
Yes, it's also, you can actually mold your block yourself, but that means you'll be using handmade blocks, not vibrated, and that also loses a lot of strength. When you're doing vibrated block, it's more stronger, almost more than 10 times better than handmade, the one they are just doing with hand mold. So you can't afford to buy pallets, to set up that machine alone is going to take you almost 2 million naira. So,
are you serious?
Yes. So why are you doing it? You buy the pallet, you buy the machine, you get the operators, you do a place for them to do it. So that's a lot of, except you are doing multiple units. So if you are doing that, it doesn't just, yes. So all you just need to do is look for a company that is selling block, check their production, ask questions about their mix ratio, how many blocks are they producing per bag, and all of that. Yes, they want to make profit. Some of them will be sincere, but don't relax. When you buy the first set from them, when you're buying the second set, check again that they are still maintaining their quality. Otherwise, they will sell the first set, second set to you, good, and the third one. So something happened to us on a project in Ikoyi. This man knows that we want good blocks. So we bought the first one, we saw it, the second, we started patronizing him. The next thing we discovered was, instead of him to add more cement, he was adding more stone dust. His blocks looks very fine and very heavy. Heavy blocks does not mean good block.
I would have thought.
Yeah, so his blocks were very heavy because he has added so much stone dust, and then we are wondering, these blocks are heavy, until we took it for a test at Lagos State Material Testing Lab. Then we knew that it was playing games.
That does it mean that every material in building has to go through testing?
No.
It is rather.
Yeah, well, for SON does most of these things, especially for manufacturing ones. But when you come to the ones that you engage on site, it's sometimes safer. It also gives you assurance as someone that is building. So when we have our reinforcements, LSMLTL, Lagos State Material Testing Lab, they test our concrete ratio, our mix, our concrete cubes, how long it is going to stand, if it's meeting standard. It also helps us. It's also a marketing area for us. But individuals can do this too, because of the cost.
So my question is it mandatory that you go through this testing at every period, or you have to submit yourself to the testing laboratory?
By law in Lagos State, when they come to your site, it is mandatory for you to do those things. They want to, because they are also trying to safeguard people against buying wrong materials unknowingly, ignorantly, and leading to collapse, especially reinforcement and concrete.
What about the SON, Standard Organization of Nigeria?
Yes, they are supposed to look at. No, they don't come to site. Actually, they don't come to construction site. So they go to the manufacturing companies. They go to the markets.
Okay.
To go and capture those ones. We don't want them on site. We have enough ethic on site. We don't want them.
Okay, so
yes.
if who are the professionals that are indispensable? You know, you want to save cost. You want to eliminate some professionals. You want to retain some, but there are some that are very, very indispensable.
I think I'll look at two, maybe your builder and your quantity surveyor.
What about an architect?
An architect designs for you from the start. So after he's done with the design, actually his work is supposed to make sure that the building aligns with what he has designed, working with the builder.
Okay.
So, but the builder will be almost in every stage of the project. If you are building multi-story building and then you need a structural engineer for soil test, for foundation design and all of those things, yes. But even after that, their work almost terminates at that. They just need to make sure that there's compliance with what they have designed. But the builder would always be there to help you save costs, look at materials. The quantity surveyor will always be there to make sure he gets you the best pricing and negotiates for you to protect your interest.
So what's the difference between a structural engineer and a builder on site?
Okay, so a builder is...
because I would have thought a structural engineer...
No, civil engineering is different from building technology. So they are professionals and trained in building the superstructure. Substructure is what is under the ground, like a foundation. Those are no-go areas for builders. Structural engineers are professionals and geologists after they analyze the soil and all of that. So the superstructure, what comes up, if it's a bungalow, blockwork and lintel, the structural engineer would have given details of how his lintels, his columns, his beams should run. Yes, the builder is to follow and build what has been designed. That's it. As relates to a building.
Okay, so this now takes me back to why are real estate developers not looking into that area? If there are the numbers, people really need housing, and why is this not?
Like I told you, affordable housing is not popular because it's not profitable to most developers. Yes, and so you look at the numbers. You sell 200 houses, and maybe your profit on each house is only 1 million naira. That's 200 million.
Is that possible?
It's possible. And even you can even make less with the current trend of economic devaluation of naira. Your profit may not even be up to that. But when you look at people that are doing the upper middle class property, you can just build 10 and make that 200 million. And you've actually had to build 20.
But they just represent a very tiny
exactly. That's why it's
percentage
not attractive. And because you want to look at the number of, you don't want to go beyond a certain amount. For instance, now we are trying to partner with Family Homes Fund. Family Home Funds partner with NHF to make sure that the deliver house is less than a certain limit, 12 million, 15 million for people. They can do it outside Lagos, but in Lagos it's very difficult. That means you have to start from the value of land. The land has to be reduced. The person you are working with must be somebody that understands backward integration. Most of what they are doing, they are producing it internally. They are blocks, they are concrete, they have batching plants, they have team of quality assurance, testing people and all of that. Most developers cannot afford that. So those are the major. I think the land is the main factor, and then the technology behind affordable housing.
But there are still some areas in Lagos that are affordable.
Like
everybody doesn't have to be in Ibejuleki.
Yes.
Isn't it affordable?
Yes.
Ekpe is part of it.
So that's why I talked about infrastructure. So imagine if government does a second, the alternative road, that's the coastal road. And then when Lekki Ekpe is blocked, somebody else can take the coastal. Imagine if the government comes and says, we want to do a train to Ekpe. People would rather prefer to live in Ekpe than living in Abule Egba or Songo. Those places are congested. It's difficult to expand the road. It's difficult to put train, railways, BRTs in some of those corridors.
But this other part of the road is
developing. You can still quickly do those things. If you have a rapid transport system from Ekpe all the way to VI and it takes you 2 hours, it is worth it than staying at Songo. There are people that live in VI that are living at Songo, Alakoko, Badagry, Agbara. Those places are a lot of population has created a lot of traffic bottlenecks. But in this place, it's still developing. You can quickly set up a lot of infrastructures in place for us to move. So those are the areas I'm hoping that the government can really look at.
But don't you engage the government on real estate developers? Don't you have a forum where you engage them?
There's a lot of engagement. I've been a member of Real Estate Developers Association since inception, since 2009. There's been a lot of engagement with the federal, with the states, and all of that. But we have to look at the willingness of the government. You know, infrastructure is a social project. It's both social, and the government has to see the economic part of it. Because once you do a location and then you do infrastructure, you open up the place. The land value in the place opens up. People buy land. People start doing their land. They start paying for title documentation in Ministry of Lands. They start doing survey. General service also earns revenue. Physical planning earns revenue. Tax office. So, but they have to see that there's the economy that comes with it. Businesses strive from those locations. But if we are all clustered in one zone, properties will go up, and then it still makes it unaffordable.
Wow. Thank you very much, Dr. Oyeleke. I really had fun discussing property, because property can be very boring, but yes, you made it very fun. Thank you so much, and I hope that when we beckon on you, you always answer, because there's a whole lot of questions and topics, discourse around property and real estate development. Thank you very much, Dr. Oyeleke.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much
for the privilege.
Thank you.
Space and style.
Majority of these boards are imported because they are not made in Nigeria. We don't have that kind of factory yet to make those boards. So majority of those MDF, HDF boards, they are imported. Then we can cut it, then put it into different shapes that we want. Actually, one thing is that there's a kind of perspective we have as Nigerians, that we believe the white people can actually do it better than us. But with this, we have the cutting machine, we have the taping machine. There's nothing different, because actually the boards that we cut here are imported from those countries, and majority of those countries now, they are coming to Nigeria already to make furniture for us here. So there is no big difference. Yeah, it's ideal that you learn it, because if you don't learn it and you just enter into the industry, there are so many things that you will not really understand about the industry. Now, what we do here, we cut and tape here. They can actually do it manually also. So, but if you actually go to a school like a furniture making school or something like that, yes, you have a better idea and a better perspective about the whole thing. It's better you go through a furniture making school, then, if possible, you learn it locally also, for you to understand your customer. One thing is that the clients, majority of the clients here in Nigeria, is that they want something perfect. And actually it can be perfect, but because we don't have enough equipment for all these kind of things, it can't actually be 100% perfect like the white people. It can't actually be 100% perfect. But we just try our possible best to do something very nice. Okay, because people like us now, that we are a bit exposed and educated, now we coming into the picture, we've changed a lot of things. We know how we deal with artisans, because if a client go and meet an artisan directly, the way artisan is going to charge them is different. And because one thing about them is that they just want the money. Give them the money. Some of them will just spend the money and not make it. But we are like the intermediary between the artisan and the client. We, as a furniture company that is more exposed, what we do is that we know how we deal with them. So when we give them work, we know the best time, like the duration that they can actually do the work. So, and with the fact that we have a machine here, it's faster and it's neater. So this is it's called the panel saw machine. They use it in cutting boards, MDF, HDF, and particle board. Any kind of board, sharp. So this is the cutting machine. So you can actually run it for you to see how it's done. You can see that it's neater and it's faster. With that, you've cut it.
Space and style.